Good Yontif, everyone. If I was going to create a podcast, I think I would entitle it the following: Kids Say the Darndest Things. I am convinced it would be a hit. Between the things I hear every day that our students say in our Eric B. Jacobs Early Childhood Education Center, and then when I go home and I hear the things that my twins, Meir and Gabi, say, I have a lot of really good material. This week's podcast would feature a conversation that I had with Meir and Gabi just a few days ago. You see, Meir and Gabi are now 6. I have no idea how that happened, but that's for a different podcast. And here's what took place. The last few weeks, Meir, Gabi, and I have been talking about the themes of the High Holy Days. We've had conversations about the shofar, about tshuva, saying we're sorry, turning to a new year, and more. And then a few days ago, they overheard someone say to me, I hope you have an easy fast, tzom kal. This led to Gabi asking me questions about fasting. And then in the middle of these questions, all of a sudden, Meir, my son's eyes light up. He looks at me and he says, I can fast better than you. I responded, Meir, you're not old enough to fast. But again, he insisted, no, Daddy, I can fast better than you. And then he proceeded to run as fast as he could in circles around our living room, using what he calls his super speed. I joined in for a while, and let me tell you, Meir was right. He definitely fasts better than me. Fasting is our quintessential Yom Kippur observance. Mention Yom Kippur, and I think the first association that most people think of is fasting, which is actually an ancient practice. But the Torah itself does not explicitly instruct us to fast on Yom Kippur. Rather, in several places in the Torah, it says that on the 7th month, on the 10th day of the month, i.e. today, Yom Kippur, initem et nafshotechem, we are to practice self-denial. Or more literally, I would translate, you shall afflict your souls. We'll hear that phrase 3 times in our Torah reading this morning, in the 5th, 6th, and Maftir Aliyot. Now, over time, the rabbis have interpreted this phrase, initem et nafshotechem, to mean fasting. On Yom Kippur, we afflict our souls by removing worldly pleasures, such as wearing leather, bathing, engaging in sexual relations, and most of all, by fasting. But why is fasting such an important element of Yom Kippur? Why has it become the central ritual that we practice today, the holiest day of the year? Do we fast to torture ourselves? Who wouldn't love a good old pastrami sandwich right now? Or maybe some delicious kiddush from the Magical Sweet Shop. Maybe a slice of pizza. Or maybe you're dreaming of a big old nice piece of cake. Am I making you hungry? Am I afflicting your soul? You're welcome. But in all seriousness, the point of fasting is not to torture or to punish ourselves at all. In his book, Seasons of the Mind, Rabbi Bernard Raskus of blessed memory cites 4 primary reasons that he thinks of why we fast on Yom Kippur. First, he says it's a sign of contrition for the sins we have committed. As our stomachs grow ever more hungry over the course of today, it's a physical reminder of the ways that we have fallen short. Second, he says that fasting is an indication of self-discipline. Tshuva requires discipline. Our fasting on Yom Kippur demonstrates our willingness to commit ourselves to better discipline. 3, he says, to enable us to focus on the spiritual. Yom Kippur is a day where we try to focus on what matters most in life, and by removing the physical amenities and pleasures from our lives, we're left with the spiritual. And finally, he says that fasting is meant to awaken compassion within us. Fasting on Yom Kippur is an act of solidarity with the suffering of the Jewish people and all people everywhere. Through fasting, we are drawn closer to all who live lives of deprivation. 4 good examples, or explanations really, of why we fast on Yom Kippur. So as we begin our Torah reading this morning, let me ask you, why are you fasting today? What meaning does it add to your life? Think about that question as we turn now to our Torah reading, which tells the story of the biblical Yom Kippur ritual. Begins on page 278 in our Machzorim. Again, our Torah readers this morning are teens Ayelet Seltzer, Jesse Sklar, Ben Bannett, Alana Shanes, Hannah Seitz, and Yael Peltz. Yasher Koach. So I've given everyone some time to think about the question I asked before, why are you fasting today? And previously I mentioned those 4 possible reasons for fasting, but I want to now add a 5th reason why we fast today, a reason that I find to be particularly meaningful. Yasher Koach, Alana. Fasting can bring a strong sense of cleansing or even catharsis. On a physical level, this could be a function of sweating out the garbage from all the industrialized food that we eat. But on an emotional level, maybe it's about cleansing the accumulated grime of ignored emotions and getting some insight into what lies beneath. Our fasting today can be healing. As I spoke about on Rosh Hashanah, our fasting can help us become more open to the cracks that exist in our lives. It can help us wrestle with the notion that we are indeed perfectly imperfect. But even more, fasting helps to remind me of my humanity and to remind me of what I am truly hungry for. It's a long list, so long of a list that I could make a list using each letter of the alphabet. Oh wait, I did. Not just today, but all year long, we hunger for acceptance, belonging, certainty, dignity, emotional stability, friendship, God, health, happiness, healing, and hope, integrity in government, justice, kindness, love, meaning, new beginnings, openness and opportunities, peace, quietude, respect, safety and security, truth, unconditional love, values, wisdom, xenial relationships. I had to look up that word too. And a zest and a zeal for life. So what do you hunger for? Today is a day to think about hunger. Yes, our stomachs may grumble throughout the day, but with each grumble, can we ask ourselves, what do I truly hunger for today and in the new year of 5783? In this way, our fasts become quite personal experience, an opportunity for soul searching. But what about communally? How can our fasts also be a communal experience? Yes, there is catharsis and solidarity in the knowledge that our stomachs are all panging together. But even more, our fasts move from the personal to the collective with the realization that there is a common hunger that we are all fasting for, the hunger for tikkun olam. Our fasting today is meaningless if it doesn't help lead us to change and growth in our own lives, in our community, and in our world. Fasting is not simply about leaving food behind for a day. It's about understanding that it is our responsibility to leave the world in a better place than we found it. Our Haftarah will pick up on this idea when we turn to it just in a few minutes in our service. But as we continue to read Torah now, let's continue to take some time to reflect on the meaning of fasting. And by the way, this goes for everyone. Everyone who is fasting and everyone who is unable to fast today for medical reasons or otherwise. What do you hunger for today? For yourself, for your family, for our community, and for our world? How will you use your hunger today to inspire you into action tomorrow? And how can we hunger for Tikkun Olam, repairing the world together. We continue with our Torah reading, the 5th Aliyah, which is found on the top of page 281. So throughout the Torah reading this morning, we're focusing on this theme of fasting. And a couple of minutes ago, I said that not only can we think of the fast that we commit ourselves to today as being one of a personal fast, but also a communal fast as well, as we look out to the world and look out to those who are in need of our help. And now as we prepare to turn to the Haftarah this morning, we'll see that this theme of looking out into the world and seeing those who are in need of our help is really, at least according to the prophet Isaiah, the fast that God desires. If you look with me on page 285 in the Haftarah, as David Weiss is going to chant for us, we will read and we will hear, "Is such the fast that I desire, a day for people to starve their bodies?" Says Isaiah in the name of God. "Is it bowing the head like a bulrush and lying in sackcloth and ashes? Do you call that a fast? No. This is the fast I desire, to unlock the fetters of wickedness and untie the cords of the yoke, to let the oppressed go free, to break off every yoke. It is to share your bread with the hungry and to take the wretched poor into your home. When you see the naked, to clothe them, and do not ignore your own flesh." Isaiah's words are haunting. They hit us right in our hungry kishkas. Isaiah teaches we don't fast for the sake of fasting. Rather, we fast to awaken our sense of empathy and righteousness. We fast so that we can briefly experience the suffering, hunger, and nakedness that others experience year-round. In other words, we do not fast merely to awaken hunger within ourselves, to do tshuva. We also fast to awaken the hunger within us, to turn us outwards, towards Tikkun Olam, this Jewish value of repairing the world. Today we hunger so that tomorrow we will help feed the world. A few years ago, Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sacks, Zichrono Livracha, the former chief rabbi of the UK, wrote an article entitled, "Why Fighting Poverty and Hunger is a Religious Duty." In the article he wrote, "One of my favorite Jewish sayings is, many people worry about their own stomachs and the state of other people's souls." And then he continues, "But the real task is to do the opposite, to worry about other people's stomachs and the state of your own soul." That's our task today. Today we hunger so that tomorrow we will help feed the world. And actually, it doesn't have to wait until tomorrow. In fact, it shouldn't. Last night we collected hundreds of bags of donated canned goods, and tomorrow they will be delivered to the Betsy and Peter Fisher JFCS food pantry. Our teens helped to collect the bags and load them in the truck. They then studied this morning's Haftarah together, and then they proceeded to make about 75 sandwiches and brown bag lunches, which tomorrow will be delivered by Deanie Edinson and Bobby Grossman to the neighborhood center in Camden. As their stomachs grumbled, our teens made sandwiches for those in need. It's obviously not just about food, but I guess we have food on our minds today, and perhaps that's the point. As we will hear the prophet Isaiah implore us in a few moments, today we should feel unsatisfied and insatiated. May we feel hungry to both look within ourselves and to look out into the world in order to change and improve. May our hunger lead to commitment, a commitment to work to create the world as we want it to be, attuned to the needs of the most vulnerable among us. Today, let us not wish one another an easy fast. The fast is not supposed to be easy. It's supposed to challenge us. Yes, physically, but even more emotionally and spiritually. Rather, may we wish one another a meaningful fast. Today, like two little wise kids recently taught me, may we fast better by turning to compassion and seeking to make the world a better place. I wish everyone a meaningful fast. As we turn now to our Haftarah, page 284, as David Weiss chants for us.